Bro, I need to tell you about Nicolas Cage. Because this is not your typical celebrity going broke story. This is not somebody who made bad investments or got scammed by a financial advisor. Well, okay, there is a little bit of that. But mostly this is a story about a man who earned over $150 million and spent it on dinosaur skulls, European castles, shrunken pygmy heads, a two-headed snake, and a private island. And I am not exaggerating a single word of that sentence. This is the Nicolas Cage story, one of the most uniquely insane financial collapses in Hollywood history. Not the saddest, not the most tragic, but absolutely the most entertaining. Let us get into it. Before the dinosaur skull and the haunted mansion and the Holy Grail quest, and yes, there was a literal Holy Grail quest, this man was one of the most accomplished and highest paid actors on the planet. Nicolas Cage was born Nicolas Kim Coppola. His uncle is Francis Ford Coppola, director of The Godfather. He knew the doors that name opened, and he hated it. So he dropped Coppola entirely and took the stage name Cage, after Marvel Comics character Luke Cage, so he could build a career on his own terms. And it worked. By the mid-1990s, he was one of the hottest actors in Hollywood. He won the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1996 for Leaving Las Vegas. He followed it with The Rock, Con Air, Face Off, National Treasure. He was commanding $20 million per film. Forbes listed him as one of the highest paid actors in the world multiple years running. Between 1996 and 2011, he earned over $150 million from acting alone. What is easy to forget in all the chaos that followed is just how genuinely respected he was during this period. This was not a flash-in-the-pan action star coasting on looks. Cage was considered a serious actor. Directors wanted him, critics debated him, peers admired him. When he showed up on set, people paid attention, because you genuinely never knew what he was going to do. His preparation was legendary. For Leaving Las Vegas, he reportedly drank himself to the point of physical illness to understand alcoholism from the inside. For Birdie, he had 2 teeth pulled without anesthetic to better relate to his character's trauma. These are not the decisions of someone who took the work lightly. These are the decisions of someone who was, in the most committed and slightly terrifying way, completely devoted to the craft. He was rich in a way most people cannot conceptualize. And then he spent it. All of it. And then some. The point here is this. Before we talk about the fall, understand what he built. This was a man with real talent, a real Oscar, and a legitimate career over decades. The story of how he lost it is not a story about a fool. It is a story about someone with zero financial guardrails and absolutely no limits on what he was willing to spend money on. Okay, this is the part you came for. Where did $150 million actually go?
Real estate first. At his peak, Nicolas Cage owned 15 homes, 15 separate properties, a $25 million waterfront mansion in Newport Beach, a $15.7 million estate in Rhode Island, an $8.5 million home in Las Vegas, a Bel Air property that once belonged to Dean Martin, which he listed for $35 million and sold for just $10.5 million, less than a third of the asking price. He bought at the top of the market and was forced to sell at the bottom, straight through the 2008 housing crash. His own words on 60 Minutes, "I was overinvested in real estate. The market crashed, and I could not get out in time." Then there were the castles. He spent $2.3 million on a 16th century castle in Germany in 2006 and reportedly $10 million on Midford Castle in Bath, England in 2007. Why? Because he was on a Holy Grail quest. Completely serious. Cage had been meditating 3 times a day, reading philosophy and mythology, and decided he needed to physically visit the places he had studied. He called it following mythology and finding properties that aligned with it. He sold the German castle in 2009 when the search came up empty. The Grail apparently was not in Bavaria. Cars. By 2004, he owned 30 motorcycles, 9 Rolls-Royces, and a $450,000 Lamborghini originally custom-built for the Shah of Iran. His business manager alleged in court filings that Cage spent at least $33 million on vehicles alone. He also had 4 luxury yachts and a $30 million private Gulfstream jet. Now here is where it gets genuinely strange. He bought a 70-million-year-old dinosaur skull at auction for $276,000, outbidding Leonardo DiCaprio for it. It turned out the skull was illegally excavated in Mongolia and smuggled out of the country. The Mongolian government asked for it back. Cage returned it. $276,000 gone for a skull he could not keep. He spent $150,000 on Action Comics #1, the first Superman comic, one of only about 100 copies in existence. He named his son Kal, Superman's birth name. The comic was then stolen from his home in 2000, stayed missing for 11 years, and turned up in a California storage locker in 2011. He sold it at auction for $2.2 million, a record at the time. So that one actually worked out. He bought the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, widely considered one of the most haunted properties in America, for $3.4 million, because he wanted to write the great American horror novel. The novel never happened. He lost a house to foreclosure. He owned a private island in the Bahamas, a 9-foot pyramid tomb in a New Orleans cemetery engraved with everything from one in Latin. An octopus, a 2-headed snake he reportedly paid $80,000 for after dreaming about a 2-headed eagle. Shrunken pygmy heads, 2 king cobras kept behind bulletproof glass. His quote about the octopus to the New York Times is my favorite thing he has ever said. He looked at the reporter and said, "What is an octopus? $80. You are not going to go into dire straits buying an octopus." And he is technically correct. The octopus was not the problem. The 15 houses were the problem.
So how does it all catch up with him? A few things hit at roughly the same time. The 2008 housing crash wiped out his real estate portfolio. Properties he had paid tens of millions for were suddenly worth far less. Foreclosures started piling up. The Las Vegas mansion sold in foreclosure for around $5 million, well below the $8.5 he paid. The New Orleans properties went too. The haunted house was later used as a filming location for American Horror Story, which feels exactly right. Then the IRS came knocking. In 2009, they hit him with a $6.2 million tax lien for unpaid property taxes. Forbes still had him as one of Hollywood's highest earners that year, $40 million. But he owed money faster than it was coming in. Cage sued his money manager Samuel Levin for fraud and negligence, claiming he had been steered toward financial ruin. Levin countersued, alleging Cage was fully informed and simply refused to stop spending despite repeated warnings. The suits were settled. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Bad advice played a role, but the purchases are documented and Cage has never fully denied them. In a GQ interview, he talked about that period with real pain behind it, describing the impossible pressure of creditors, the IRS, and trying to keep his mother out of a mental institution, all at once. What that interview made clear is that the financial collapse and the personal collapse were happening simultaneously. These were not separate storylines. The mounting debt was not an abstraction sitting in a spreadsheet somewhere. It was showing up at his door, threatening his family, demanding things from him daily. He has described waking up in the middle of the night doing math in his head, trying to figure out which creditor to pay first, whether selling one property could buy enough time to save another. That is a very different image from the one the tabloids painted at the time, which was mostly just mockery of a man who bought too many castles. The reality was far more human and far more exhausting. So what did he do? He went back to work. Hard. Between 2009 and 2015, he made a staggering number of films, many of them low budget, direct-to-video projects he openly admitted taking to pay off his debts. He called them crummy roles. But he showed up, filmed them, collected the checks. It was not dignified, but he did what he had to do. There is actually something worth pausing on here because it is easy to gloss over this part of the story in favor of the more colorful details. During those years, Cage was essentially running a one-man debt repayment operation. He was not in rehab, he was not hiding. He was working, constantly, relentlessly, sometimes on 2 or 3 projects at once. The films were bad. Some were genuinely unwatchable. But the discipline required to keep showing up, keep delivering, keep honoring commitments while your financial world was actively collapsing around you, that is not nothing. A lot of people in that position would have folded entirely. He did not.
As of 2026, Cage's net worth is estimated at around $40 million, down significantly from his peak, but not nothing. He recently bought a $10.5 million home in Malibu. He is still getting work. In September 2025, he started filming a World War II thriller called Fortitude alongside Ben Kingsley and Michael Sheen. The man is still in the game. He has also had a genuine cultural comeback. A new generation found his older films and realized that what looked like overacting was actually a fully committed, distinctive performance style. He got real critical praise for Pig in 2021 and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in 2022, where he literally played a version of himself. He has self-awareness. He knows what the story looks like from outside, and he is leaning into it. Here's my honest take. The Nicolas Cage story is different from most celebrity financial collapses because the spending was not really about ego or status. He was not buying 15 houses to impress people. He was buying a castle because he was on a quest for the Holy Grail. He was buying a haunted mansion to write a horror novel. He was buying a dinosaur skull because it was a 70-million-year-old dinosaur skull and he thought it was incredible. There is something almost childlike about it. Someone who had never been told no, following every obsession with unlimited money and no one willing or able to make him stop. That is not a defense of the decisions. They were catastrophic. But it makes him a more interesting figure than someone who blew their money on clubs and jewelry trying to look rich. Cage was not trying to look anything. He was just fully, completely, unapologetically himself. And he happened to have unlimited money to do it with. So, what do we take from this? 3 things. Earning a lot of money and knowing how to manage money are 2 completely separate skills. Cage was exceptional at one and had none of the other. The people around you matter enormously. Someone who truly had his best interests at heart needed to enforce limits, and that never happened. And timing in real estate is everything. He bought at the peak and was forced to sell in the crash at enormous scale, and it broke him financially. But here's the thing I keep coming back to. Nicolas Cage has never filed for bankruptcy. He kept working through the darkest period. He took the crummy roles, paid off the debts, and slowly rebuilt. The same person who spent $276,000 on a stolen dinosaur skull also had the discipline to grind through years of direct-to-video movies to get back on his feet. Both of those guys were the same person. That is the complexity of the story. Anyway, that is the Nicolas Cage story. $150 million, 15 homes, 2 castles, a dinosaur skull he had to return to Mongolia, and a 9-foot pyramid tomb in New Orleans. Drop a comment. What is the single most unhinged purchase on this list for you? I genuinely cannot decide. I will catch you in the next